Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another build video. Here's the box. And my apologies for taking so long to make a new video. I have a few projects in mind that I've been waiting to do, but it kind of took a while for some of the parts to come. For this video, I'll be using the Carolina Mech FR4 Plate because I'm using linear switches, and I figured brass would be slightly clackier. Since the case itself is full of Eastern Asian-inspired designs, I went with the quickest Asian-style keycaps that I could find. These are pretty much always available on Amazon if you want to pick them up. All the links will be in the description. After I built Wolfden's keyboard, I always feel weird saying his name like that. His name is Bob. After I built Bob's keyboard, I fell in love with the Gateron Milky yellows, so I'm going to be using those on this build. I did not film myself lubing them up. I've already lubed them with Krytox 205G0, the springs bag lubed with GPL 105. I did it in advance because I was bored one day while I was waiting for the rest of this build to arrive, and I said, you know what, let me just do these now. Oh yeah, and luckily I had some ZOPC screw-in stabilizers because I didn't feel like ordering new ones. Those sometimes take a while, so I had enough to do this build. Now, of course, before we begin, please make sure to like this video to help even more keyboard fans and enthusiasts see this in their feeds. It helps support the channel and hopefully will help me grow it. So now, taking a look at the case, man, this thing is beautiful. It has a brass weight right in the middle that has a phoenix design on it. The carvings on the side are what really sold me on this case when I saw it on Etsy. It's so beautiful to look at and really stands out among my other 60% cases, which are more plain, more or less. It has these legs on the bottom. I think they're brass. They're screwed into the bottom to give it more of an angle, which is great. The sides of the case have a carved design as well. And the front has a more geometric pattern. It almost reminds me of the Die Ranger buckles. So this case comes with its own little set of screws and tools, which seem to be Allen wrench looking. They send you an option in case you don't want to have those I think, again, brass legs. You could put felt on the bottom instead. These two rectangular felt pieces are for the front bottom area of the keyboard, which I'll definitely put on later. And here are the standoff screws to screw in your PCB. They're that same brass looking color. As for the PCB, I had the choice of 3, and I ended up going with the DZ60 RGB ANSI, because I don't need an underglow with this wooden case, and I do like the per key lighting, so I just went with this one. Looks like it fits, perfect. And these are the standoffs where I'll screw this bad boy in. That sounded really weird, actually. I typically use Krytox 205G0 on the stabs themselves, and then Permatex on the wires. To me, lubing is mostly taking lube off once you've put it on. It smooths it out and you don't want too much. So I usually dip one side of the wire in the Permatex, then use the excess on the other side of the wire using a paintbrush to smooth it out and make it even. So I no longer opt for plate stabs because it's counterintuitive if you think about it. It's called a stabilizer. You want it to be stable. Do you want it floating using friction to keep it in place on a plate, or would you rather have it hard mounted with a screw? It's kind of a no-brainer. you know, for a cheap set of keycaps, these look pretty neat. I don't normally love sub-dyed Legends, but these honestly look pretty good. They're not really bleeding anywhere. And I had no idea that these were dog-themed. So before I actually start installing the PCB in the case, I do like to do a test run of the stabs. Now the case itself, the standoffs are pretty shallow, so instead of using foam, I've opted for the tape mod. I've done this mod twice before, and I do like how it makes the sound profile more pronounced. Alright, so now it's time to screw the PCB into the case. There was one standoff that didn't line perfectly with the hole in the PCB, but that's fine, it didn't really make a difference. Beautiful. So, now, here's where things went a little bit off the rails. If you look closely at the escape key, it's pushed in and doesn't come back up, and that's because the case cutout for the PCB is a little misshapen. I also had the same problem on the right side with the backslash and the backspace key. They would just stay down and not come back up because there isn't enough space. So to not ruin the case, I decided to sand down the keycaps since they were pretty cheap. But that doesn't really help if one day I want to put better keycaps on this case, because there's no way I'm going to sand down expensive keycaps. So now the next thing that was a little weird is, I didn't fix this until after the video, but the case is also kind of warped on the bottom, so that when you hit the bottom right keys, the whole case kind of wobbles a little bit, little seesaw effect. You can see it later in the sound test if you look closely when I'm hitting the shift on the right and the enter key over and over towards the end. So I ended up fixing it, and it's fixed now, but I had to double up on the felt on the right bottom side, and it works better now. After sanding down the delete, the escape, and the backslash key, they definitely work better. This leg also came loose during shipping. If you're wondering how to tighten it, you have to lift the felt piece off. You could really just pull it off, and the screws are underneath it. Now listen, even after all of those things, I still love the aesthetic of this board. It is a gorgeous case. Just looking at it, it came out exactly how I wanted it to look. And now, here is a sound test.
So I'm really happy with the way that this turned out aesthetically. I think it looks exactly how I wanted it to look. I didn't run into too many problems with this other than having to sand or file down the corner top keycaps a little bit, and I'm glad that I got a cheap set. Beautiful, the wood finish is very, very nice. The keycaps I might change out, although I like the Asian theme. I don't know if these are gonna be the ones that I keep. I think the colorway is nice. I'm just not a huge fan of XDA. I could type on them. I don't love the typing experience. It is a little bit too flat across the board for me. But again, I do like the way that it sounds, and I think it sounds good with the tape mod. As for the case, would I recommend this case from Breakwooden? I definitely would. It's beautiful. I mean, you saw shots of it earlier. It's a beautiful case. When I received it, the weight was not glued in. Well, it probably was glued in, but I had to kind of re-seal it down. And then as I was saying earlier, I think it was this one. The leg was just a little loose, so again, they're handmade. Make sure that, when you get it, you inspect it, and then just make any alterations to it that you have to. I was messaging Breakwooden literally while I was building this because of those things that I noticed, and they were super responsive and very helpful. So thank you, Breakwooden. I appreciate that. If you already have this case, or if you're planning on building it, or if you do build it, let me know. Make sure to tag me on Instagram or wherever you're posting it. I'd love to see what keycaps you use on it. And if you like what you saw today, please make sure to like this video and also subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with all the things that I'm building and reviewing. You can follow me on Instagram. You're probably going to find my other channel, Geek Levelation, first, but I have another Instagram called Geek Levelation Tech, and that is for this particular channel. And as always, thank you very much, everybody, for checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.